And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Remind everybody, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There's a PayPal link down below for anybody who wants to share some love. Everything is appreciated. And, of course, the stream link is down there for anybody who wants to join the panel. We've got John with us again tonight. How you doing tonight, John?
Doing all right. Doing all right.
Good, good. Always good to hear. And John keeps in communication with me through another platform and updates me with a group of people he shares information with otherwise. And it seems like a lot of this information is coming together in a confluence and more people are comprehending it. Is that what I'm getting through our private communications, John?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, more are getting it, Keith, but a lot or not. So
yeah, it's fewer than more. But
yeah, I don't think we're there yet for having even most of the Patriot movement to understand all this. They just don't see it. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and that's why I made that distinction about militia. And when we think about anarchy, it kind of falls in line with that. But again, the main principle goes back to the foundation of feeding a man for a day if you give him a fish, but you feed him for a lifetime if you teach him. But the true principle is the furthering education, not just to the next generation, but an improvement in that education and its use to come up with better and greater things that make things more convenient. That's the initial drive. The nature of convenience is the mother of invention. So what we're going to talk about tonight, as you see, is the Heroic Imagination Project. Now, I've spoken on this before. This is from Philip Zimbardo. If you remember him, he was the guy that did the Stanford Prison Project. So we're going to go to the site here. It's called heroicimagination.org. And the link is down below. And it says right on the first page, it says, we train everyday heroes. And I'm not espousing that I agree entirely with everything here. I don't know entirely everything here. But from what I've conceived so far, it's a good intent program to help wake people up to their own talents in realizing that they have full powers to be their own hero. And a hero, as it says in here somewhere, is not necessarily the opposite of a villain, but the opposite of a bystander, someone that just stands by. It says, we train everyday heroes, and our mission, inspired by a heroic imagination in each of us, HIP designs innovative strategies by combining psychological research, intervention education, and social activism to create everyday heroes equipped to solve local and global problems. You got to think about this, folks. Where do they get all those data elements? Who are the actual, like I've said before, national treasures that do all these make all these creations and invent all these things? Those are the true national treasures. That's where all credence comes from, once again. We believe ordinary people can do extraordinary things. And it's proven time and again that throughout history, the things that change throughout history are oftentimes conducted and moved by very few men. Greetings, Russ. How you doing tonight?
Greetings, brother. Greetings, John. Hope everyone's doing well.
How you doing, Russ?
Good, good, good.
All right. So let's continue on. It says, we believe most of the heroes in the world are everyday people just like you. And if you look at the history, it's essentially, that's what it is for the most part. There are some mythological heroes, Samson, things like that, that have this creation of God or gods, and intermingling with men and this and that. So those are things, again, hearsay that we don't actually know of today. So therefore, we believe most of the heroes in the world are everyday people just like you. And this correlates to the scriptures that say, ye shall do greater things than I. It says, learn more, training, partnership, resources, and about us. What started initially as the controversial Stanford prison experiment by Dr. Philip Zimbardo in 1971 became a collective social experiment called the Heroic Imagination Project, a nonprofit research and education organization dedicated, remember I spoke about dedicated and addiction in the stream earlier, to training people to act in more heroic ways, getting off your ass and doing things, even if it's the small things. Since 2010, HIP has been conducting trainings and workshops for businesses and schools across the United States. So there's a inconsistency with what I know as the United States. So they're using it in a different manner, using it as if though it includes all the contiguous 50 states of the Union, or 48 states, as well as the other two, possibly even Guam, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, yeah, DC.
I'd say that 10 square miles is awful big.
Yeah, that's what it portrays. That's that territorial overlay. In many nations around the world, whether taking on bullying, improving workplace culture, or confronting discrimination, even nationality discrimination, again, as we spoke of in the past few streams. HIP has been committed to teaching skills so people and groups can act heroically every day, even in small manners, building heroes around the world. And I want to remind people, who has the greatest imagination but the young child? It's unlimited until people start putting their limits on it. Oh no, you can't do that. How many people said you couldn't fly before somebody invented flight? The heroic imagination has many partners around the world doing good work. These people and organizations have completed HIP training and are certified to create amazing projects in their own communities. Then it gives you some case studies. There it is. The opposite of a hero is not a villain. It's a bystander. Matt Langdon, president of HIP. I like that. You got a way to get in touch, and it says our reach. Since HIP's inception, our trainings have been taken by people in more than 20 countries. HIP's educational programs have impacted professors, college students, high school students, as well as business leaders, company employees, and staff from nonprofit organizations and government agencies. And you can sign up. So what is this case studies? And feel free to stop me, folks. Tell me to pause and bring anything up you want to. I'm just wanting to bring about the scope that this isn't the physical Stanford prison project of imprisoning people and giving them unreigned authority or control over others. This is a metaverse where people might assume some kind of control or authority over others. This is where we see a lot of people using ad hominems to try to force people off of their position or stance of the communication. Like I mentioned in the stream earlier, this mustache is a particular trigger that I've used that has showed me a distinct difference between the people on the metaverse and how they react to it, adverse to the people out in the community that I actually interact with and don't say a damn thing about it. See, it's the metaverse that allows people all this bravado of being heroic enough to be able to do things that they otherwise wouldn't attempt. So in the psychological sense, it's doing exactly that. Is it really heroic though? And that's the difference.
Absolutely not. That's the thing that gets me. If people want to jump around and just control everybody's speech and what's deemed okay and what's not okay, I mean, that's the thing that surprises me the most. We'll say with the talking heads out here is that very principle.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to talk about here next. It talks about creating a culture, building a movement, starting a journey. But
So
I want to remind
they're saying if it's not my way, we're going to cut you out of the picture and you ain't going to talk. We're going to cut your lips off. We're going to follow you around these platforms and we ain't going to let you share anything outside of what we deem is truth.
right. And see, that's what again, back to the stream earlier about excommunication and a baseless threat. When we understand how this communication system works and that there are certain parties that are already obligated to certain duties and responsibilities, you don't let other people try to use that against you. So go ahead and tell me that you don't respect me. Go ahead and tell me that you're going to excommunicate me from the community. But remember, you have to define that community. In so defining that community, I'm sure you'll find out showing that you're the one that's divisive and using a separate community from that of the whole. I don't know what to tell you. You're the one that's being impartial, if you get what I mean, to impart information, being impartial to your little community rather than the community as a whole.
You know what I found rather disheartening?
Real quick, one last time. I'm not going to iterate this enough. A man's intellect is limited and biased by their vocabulary, people.
Absolutely. But the thing that got me the most is every time I tried to talk, I never was disrespectful or, acting any kind of crazy way for me to come with a positive vibe and to open up a discussion in such a manner and to just rip me down. How was that anybody stable able to lead?
Yeah, well, and there are many other points we would go on, but I'd rather stick to this topic
maintain
here.
good works, and I find that really hard to do, and a lot of people don't take it as seriously as one may should.
Right,
Actually,
and again, this is going to show, I hope, and correlate the principle of giving a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. But the true principle behind it is to be creating greater and greater people. Again, ye shall do greater things than I. I would never want to bring my son up and have him limited to what I've done in life. But my expectation, of course, naturally, I believe, and was at one point in time, that he would be greater than I am. And that's another thing that, again, is based on the principle not of who I am, but what I do, and that's carried by a message. So again, it's more direct to a message. That's the legacy. The what we do and what we collect in doing that, that's the materialistic inheritance. Of course, we would want that to prosper too, but we find in today's modern society that a millionaire, being a multimillionaire, passing on his inheritance would likely be loss of that inheritance within the first generation. Pathetic. So it goes on to say, and again, understand this is based on the principle also, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So when we go through this material, understand it's based on the principle of education again, passing on the knowledge, and that the knowledge build and grow. Creating a culture. So it's actually talking about creating a culture. This is the customary changes that we go through in time. They're just transformations. Mount Morris schools were looking to improve relationships between students. They wanted to increase the impact of the character education program in anti-bullying efforts. Now, this is a first for me. This is an aspect of teaching the little ones their talents, their spiritual natures and talents. So I do see that kind of a blessing aspect, a positive aspect, that's what we're actually supposed to be doing with our children, is helping them build their character. Our priority is to help make change. It's not going to be swooping in and out. It is about empowering the students and being part of the school culture, being part of the education. If you're not going to be a priest under the word of the truth of that education, then he's going to deny you. And in so doing, he's going to deny your children too, because they don't know him for lack of that education. My people are destroyed for lack of that knowledge. We are impacting the kids' lives with specific examples and everyday people. This is carrying forth the message of the parables into modern times and giving them similar examples. That's what parable means, examples. So they're giving them comparable examples of people that do the same kinds of things that Jesus Christ did in his day. They can be a hero every day. Every day is his. Why are you waiting for tomorrow? This is the Boy Scout motto of being honest, trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent, and that you're supposed to do a good turn daily. They don't have to do something great, just a good turn. Doesn't have to be exponentially altering. It's a butterfly effect, more or less. But every day, the choices they make can affect others. Building a movement. Remember what we talked about earlier, that communication is a movement. So you're building a communication. You're expressing your thoughts and ideologies that you imagine to be good and profitable unto men. Being careful to maintain those good works in your movements. In Budapest, Hero Square has started a movement across the whole country, engaging volunteers and trainers to deliver programming to corporations, schools, and universities. Every year, Dr. Zimbardo visits the group to give keynotes, run trainings, and talk to the press as a way of injecting energy on a regular basis. Starting a journey. See, we're sojourners, strangers and sojourners with him. I like this guy's language. Mariana Barbosa led a team from Portugal to attend the Hero Roundtable in San Francisco and take an in-person hero training class. She and the team returned to Portugal, I imagine they meant Portugal, and created a program for middle school students that is showing remarkable results. We might have to check that out. From this initial success, she plans to create HIP Portugal to train people across the country. Anyone can take our trainings. Anyone can start their own journey in teaching heroism. So what I want to mention here is, again, I do support Paul in that original concept that he used to talk about in using his platform as a springboard to do your own thing. Why not? I think that's a good idea. That's what these guys are talking about. It's similar language, don't you think? Creating something, building a movement, and starting a journey so somebody else can do the same thing. Odd, huh? Just my thoughts. Anyway, let's continue on. And it says you can sign up. So it says our work overview. The Heroic Imagination Project provides training for individuals and groups, as well as promoting research and providing resources. You are that very researcher and resource. You're the one they need the data elements from. In that heroic imagination, are you going to present as a spokesman for the Word of God, or are you going to be mischievous? Trainings. We provide online and in-person trainings. Online, you can begin with an introductory self-paced course, then advance to a cohort-based online program. Face-to-face, we can deliver a bespoke program or keynote at your location. So they're willing to book a seminar or something. We partner with the Hero Roundtable to hold 2-day conferences. So you can book them for a 2-day conference around the world where you can hear from leading experts and meet others who share your passion. We also hold fundraisers, workshops, and information sessions for the public. Partnership. We're proud to have partners from many parts of the globe. Some are attempting to change an entire country. Others are working with refugees, while others are coordinating with schools. Some partners are individuals who deliver our training to groups around the world. So we have trainings, events, and partnerships, restating creating a culture, building a movement, starting a journey. They just told you the exact same thing, in case you didn't catch that. You can go back and review it. That's why it's called an overview. Sign up. Our work, training. Hero training. Do you want to make sure you're more likely to act heroically when the time comes? That's an important question. What do you guys think?
Come again, Keith? I missed that.
It says, do you want to act more heroically when the time comes?
Shit, yeah.
Well, it's, we all should be prepared, right?
Absolutely. And this is the importance of living without fear, as Jack says.
We should you be the ones that run into that building on fire to save another soul.
Right.
Ready to act to help out in society and mankind, each other.
Willing to sacrifice your body to redeem another. Absolutely. And that's the purpose here, folks, is this is a test. And if we go around walking around in fear and not imagining ourselves as our own hero and then projecting that, then all we project is our fear. I fear no one, for I have been redeemed. He has called me by my name. I am his. You want to know that name? You'll have to ask him, because I don't even know it yet. Everybody else calls me Keith or asshole, slave. A lot of things people have called me. Those are ad hominems, and they don't disposition my communication with my Father in heaven, because that's not what he calls me. The best reference I can give to that is child of God. Oops. I think most people recognize that.
The child may imagine that hero, but I think a man has to be there to define it.
Well, the man is there to go through with courage that which a child might fear, knowing that he has a good intent in his heart and providence of our Father's grace. Faith. This weekly course gets sent straight to your inbox with information, lessons, and activities for you to complete on your own in your own time. HIP certification. Our 6-week online course brings together small cohorts to work together on a deeper understanding of heroism and how to teach it. I would prefer to help clarify the story of David and Goliath. He stood in the full armor of God while shedding off the nation's armaments, those gifts that the nation was trying to confer upon him that weren't actually going to be a true gift. It was going to weigh him down. It's going to overweigh him. Perfect for teachers, managers, and trainers. You'll be ready to add hero training to your offerings. Nothing beats learning in person. We can come to you and provide a keynote, half-day training, 2-day retreat, or whatever else fits your schedule. So they're restating what they stated earlier about the 2-day retreat. They're adjustable. All of our face-to-face trainings are customized, so they don't follow law, do they? So if they're customized, then they're contracts. Again, under trust, though. For the client, no training is the same. Hero Club, the Club in a Box program, is a series of lessons for small high school groups to create a deep understanding of heroism and how you can act heroically. And again, before we get too far, for all of our younger listeners or moms and dads that have youngers that might listen in the future, under supervision, of course, this is not medical advice. This is not legal advice. This is no advice of anything. But it comes to the point of realizing that the imaginations of our children can be great imaginations, and they need to be not necessarily controlled, but brought up in a reality of the consequences as well.
They don't want reality, Keith. The satanic
right,
system. They want fiction and they want torture.
Right, and that's why
for them. Yeah.
And that's why I concentrate on this to create a deep understanding of heroism. It is not, like I said, something that you would use to affront other people, trying to impose yourself as some kind of hero in a community. That's just facetious. That's why I say again, it's not about me anywhere. I've been doing the same thing for a long time, and it's about your right to know, and me being able to help you in that through an educational process, showing that you may have a greater understanding than me someday, and that's the purpose. So that greater understanding will get to a greater audience by a greater communication. I think it's pretty simple. To defeat one's opponent without fighting is of supreme excellence. And I think this is where we need to gear this her heroism towards, is that it's not so much in the physical actions, but in your thoughts. That's where the true journey is. It's your imagination. That's why it's called Heroic Imagination Project. You get to project from your imagination what you see as a hero. So if you're seeing yourself as a hero, that's what you should be projecting. And quid quo pro vice versa. If you're projecting yourself as a demon, that's probably what you have in your imagination.
Yeah, and Jesus said the kingdom is within your brain, is within you.
Yes, and that's why I concentrate on that fact. And again, I mentioned it earlier in the stream earlier. Jack's a big part of what I'm doing here today because I recognized the angry old man that he called me. I had to reposition myself because that wasn't a disposition. That was the position, and he called it correctly. So there are times, again, you have to recognize your own criticisms as matching with those of others. And therefore, you have to realize those other critiques and reflect on them and see if maybe you are not mistaken. And again, like I said, I've been a bitch-ass slave all my life. I've been a fucking fool. I was an idiot. Not anymore. I know who I am. Know thyself. Heal thyself. So we continue on. And like I said, it's a matter.
Before you go, if you don't mind, Keith, there's a gentleman, Lou, down in the chat there. I wanted to welcome him. He's a brother, obviously, I've known for a long time. And he's coming into this truth movement. And we've encouraged him to get out here. So it's been the first time to your program here. And hopefully he comes and seeks a whole lot more information and value here. Much love down there, Brother Lou.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll remind everybody all glory goes to him. Again, I'm just the pass through. Um, and as we continue on, then, again, I want to remind everybody the importance of this education thing is to educate people in peace. If we want peace, we must first bring peace. And that means our education has to be peaceful. And if we want to create that heroism and it has to take that physical form, we must always first remember that to defeat one's opponent without fighting is of supreme excellence. Therefore, that should be the first course of resolution for any discourse. It says, I tell people that your priority is to help us make change. Okay. Again, like I said earlier with the 12-step serenity prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the changes that I cannot. God grant me serenity to accept the changes I cannot change, the courage to know the things I can change, and the wisdom to know that's me. So the changes are happening around me all the time already. So my priority is to help myself adopt and adapt to those changes. It's not going to be swooping in and out. Like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. It's been a long journey. And as I said, hopefully you'll see the temperamental change in me as I get over all this anger and resentment and try to portray a much more peaceful manner as I adapt and adopt to the various different platforms and communities that allow me to communicate with them. The 4 factors of our training: aspiration as to inspiration. I aspire to inspire others. The hero's journey and aiming higher. Like I said, it's about being able to teach the next generation a better way of getting their fish by learning how to fish. In that, maybe they'll come up with a better way, a better way of getting fish themselves, a more convenient or efficient way. But again, just because it's more efficient and more convenient doesn't mean we have to make up greater stores. That abundance is a motherfucker sometimes when it comes to gluttony and greed. We're only supposed to be taking what we need, not an excess to provide for a supply and demand. The hero's journey is a common structure in stories from around the world and throughout time. In applying it to our own lives, we can take the lessons of every hero who came before us. We have agency in our own stories. And I want to put it forth right now. This is my commitment to my companion. That's my agency in my story, correlating and concurrent with her story. So we have agency and we support each other as a team. She looks up to me as her hero in this system, helping her go through all of these contract terms and conditions as they're applied, and helping her realize that they're applying them in error. And she too is learning how to speak up against it and asking questions. That's all I'm doing. Spreading the information so other people can use it. And again, the use of it is merely to ask questions so you can resolve the errors, the inconsistencies, the impossibilities. We need a team for support along the path. We each play a role in the stories of those around us. We each communicate with those around us one way or another, intellectually, intangibly, or physically. Even if we're not communicating with them directly, just being in somebody else's sight is a communication. They observe us or we observe them one way or another. Even if it's a one-way communication, it's still a form of communication, visual. Inspiration, collecting heroes and stories. This is as to the legacy. Again, he gave you the breath of life. He inspired you with that breath of life, and man became a living soul. That is your legacy. As a man, and in the living soul form, you get to act out your story as he's conscripted the words on your heart as a prophet unto the nations. You're not supposed to be letting somebody else write your story with their pen or even your pen. It's your story. By reading the stories of heroic action, we ask ourselves, what would I do? With a collective of situations and actions, we are better prepared to face similar situations and take action ourselves. Did you know this is most inherently speaking of the medical profession, where if it weren't for periodical practices in similar situations that mankind goes through over and over and over again, we wouldn't know how to perform CPR. As it relates to the inspirations and aspirations of every breath we take as acts of God. Does anybody else find that ironic? I mean, shit, we went through 3 years of a pandemic where everybody wanted to hide their breath, fearing that it was going to condemn somebody, convict somebody, excommunicate them. Do you not understand that they were trying to excommunicate you already? You guys got any thoughts on that? I mean, am I wrong?
That just symbolized that we're not given orders. We're not given directives. That's why they put those masks on us. They're telling us that we should be talking, maybe. I don't know.
I think that's absolutely true. See, when in the lion's den, you don't do what the lions tell you. That's as simple as I can explain it.
Yep, Silence of the Lambs. Look at that title. No, really.
Yep. You're just one of the sheeple. And he's going to open your head up and eat right from your brain while he's talking to you. Sick shit. So anyway, it goes on. And it says, education. Why we sometimes act heroically and sometimes don't. This is where the fear creeps in. There are many social and psychological reasons for not acting heroically. More often than not, these barriers to action are invisible to us in the moment. They're intangible. They're the preconceived thoughts, triangulated, I'll call it, through fear from previous experiences and observations. I'm tired of watching people stand by with a phone and recording, who was it, George Floyd, being killed right before him. There's a time people need to start stepping up. And it's long before people start putting boots on other people's necks. By learning about them, we can take pause in situ and choose to ignore them. So, in situ, that's situs, in the place, in the moment, we can take pause and choose to ignore the drama, recognizing it for the drama it is, because they are invisible to us in the moment. It's not real. It's just perceived somehow in your imagination. By learning about them, we can take pause and think twice. Using our reason and logic and not emotions, and choose to ignore them if that's what our choice is. Otherwise, it would presume that once we take that pause and we choose not to ignore them, that if we do address them, that we do so without the emotions and in a Socratic manner, not falling to calling each other names, telling each other I don't respect you, because I really don't give a fuck. Preparation. Practices to make you more likely to act heroically when the time comes. So you suppose those 93, 94 cases now was good practice, so that when I come to stand up for my companion and tell them I know all of their frauds and they're going to stop, or else I'm going to tell on them. call me a snitch. I've already told on them. I've already communicated. I've already counseled. I've already partook in seeking the immutable promise of seeking that counsel, which is the original promise with the original seal of his original oath. And I bow down to none. I don't give up that sovereignty. To further reduce the impact of the barriers to action, again, my body is a sacrifice, and I'm just a pass-through, and he's going to use me as he sees fit. I'm not anybody's hero but mine, and I can only do the best that I can imagine in myself. We can practice, plan, and prepare. Every bit of work we do now makes it more likely that we'll act heroically when someone needs it. Go ahead, brother.
I wanted to ask you, and that was a good spot there about the actions. You know, a lot of people talk about this shit about careful, I get you for practicing law and interfering with all this stuff. But, you know, I've done a lot of soul searching with that whole aspect. And I'm not sure that there's anything they can do to any one of us trying to help anyone, to be quite honest.
No, they're not supposed to, but that's the importance of learning how to communicate, learning how
That's
to
true, but I
support
mean,
each
they
other.
won't let you help people in these problems, and they try to keep you out of the picture and everything else, and threaten you with all these things, and say, "Well, you're not an attorney; you're practicing law." But I think again, it goes back to those good works, and then also once you have the knowledge, and then as it says in Romans, to set by and watch them buy and sell and mark people with a name. And you telling me that I have to sit here and take this shit and watch you guys sell these children? Go fuck yourself. I'm sorry. I don't believe I have to follow any of their bullshit. They're supposed to be following what the rule is.
Right, and that's why we go to Titus 3:8, and it says, "This is a faithful saying, and these things I will, that thou affirm constantly, that they which have believed in God might be careful to maintain good works." So this is my duty first and foremost. And like I said, I'm just a pass through for his will. I'm only doing what he wills me to do. And you have to find some way to supersede that. So explain to me how you're going to excommunicate me from speaking with him as it is his will. I find that facetious, blasphemous, and a baseless threat.
All right, cool. I'm having the same thoughts then, because that's been weighing heavy on me, and you know, it wouldn't seem to be much of a profit unto the nation in his name to sit there and watch what's going on in these communities, and not able to assist people.
Yeah. And that's what we're talking about here. Our heroic imagination projection is that we always want to help somebody. It's never that we want to tear people down. But somehow, consequently, that's what we end up doing in these supposed discussions where we're wanting to come together. We're wanting to confer with each other. Remember our etymology of conference. That's bringing together, and that's the same thing as bringing together two people in different languages through a lingua franca. You're conferring through that language. You're conferring through a third person language. And if you don't understand how that communication works, then again, I reiterate once again, a man's intellect is limited and biased by his vocabulary. It says, what group does HIP work with? We work with audiences. What is an audience? That is somebody that hears and uses audio in return, equal exchange, quid quo pro, equal consideration, equal benefit. It's an audience where you get to compel each other back and forth through your communication. That communication is in education. Primary as it goes to primacy, primates, first and foremost. Secondary as it goes to man, and post-secondary as it goes to adult. business, nonprofit, public, and private sectors as it goes to franchises of corporate entities, as well as community groups and individuals who lead small organizations. So again, if the law is uniform throughout all jurisdictions, and the communication starts ecclesiastically, isn't that the communication you're supposed to have with your local communities and small organizations to help lead them by the word of truth and the merits thereof, and not by the fiction? Another great session, and quite possibly the one with the best practical advice for making a real difference. Victor L., Ford Motor Company. Ways we can customize in-person hero training, improving workplace or school culture, helping each person identify their own hero's journey and how they can participate on the journeys of those around them. And this is important, as I referenced the aspect the other day of the public education system, and you ask those children, well, what do you want to be when you grow up, Johnny? And that's their hero mentality. That's what we have to understand. We have to understand that they might have a false mentality of what a hero is. Again, my mom used to tell me, Keith, how are you going to learn how to fly like an eagle if you keep hanging with that flock of turkeys? Mom, I never went to college. I never sought a law degree. I never sought a business degree. I never sought any kind of occupation or any kind of profession, but I sought higher counsel, for damn sure. Goes on to say, reducing bullying online and off, identifying the effects and causes of bullying, and how the power of the group can make bullying a thing of the past. Echo heroes. We talk about the echo chamber. Ways to take heroic action to protect the environment, slow global climate change, and save the planet. I think this is a little extensive. I don't think anyone can really portray that you can save the planet. I mean, Mother Nature is Mother Nature and has its own rules, laws, causes, effects, and there's not any way anybody can really control that, I don't think. But that's not to say that we can't work with the environment, as I've spoken of before, as it relates to water shedding and redeeming the land, which is one of the very specific purposes mentioned in the scripture again, which I reiterate, Leviticus 25, verse 23. The land shall not be sold forever, for it is mine, and ye are strangers and sojourners with me. And that takes us to partnerships. Psalms 121, verse 8 again. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore, because they are his lands, and we are strangers and sojourners with him. We're looking for enthusiastic people all around the globe. Individuals and small groups are training heroes with HIP. If you're in a school or business starting a nonprofit or activist group, working as a trainer or leading change, we'd love to equip you with the tools to succeed in your corner of the world. Contact us if you're interested in more than just training, but becoming an official HIP partner. Interesting. Now we've got the case studies. Oh, we already went over that, didn't we? Okay, about us. It says today, HIP's mission is rooted in the findings of social psychological experiments of Ash, Milgram, and Zimbardo, among many others. These experiments, as well as myriad heinous acts throughout history, reveal the banal side of evil. As described by Hannah Arendt, no one is exempt from the possibility of being coerced by the dark side of human nature. So I say again, you can't excommunicate me from nothing unless it's your community, which proves that you've divided yourself, not me. However, the reverse also appears true. The banality of heroism, an idea first explored in a 2006 article written by Dr. Zimbardo and Dr. Zeno Franco. Interesting, Franco, huh? Is a guide from HIP's work suggesting that each and every seemingly ordinary person on this planet is capable of committing heroic acts. And this is why I say, I've used a shovel before. I've stabbed people before. I know the other heinous acts that people have contrived against me. And I know we're all capable of those. I also comprehend that ye shall do greater things than I, and that means we're all capable of those things as well. Somehow, we seem to forget that. So I reiterate again this thing about this mustache that a lot of people get triggered in this metaverse and want to call it a Hitler mustache and try to use ad hominems and trigger me when it is the trigger. And it proves that the people in this metaverse come forth very boldly. We're out there in the public, they don't. They hold back their tongue because inherently they too know that other people are capable of committing heinous acts, such as pulling out a gun and just shooting you over stupid shit. So sometimes, particularly in public, it's better to just keep your fucking mouth shut if you want to make ignorant comments. But see, a lot of times I don't really care because, again, like I said, a man's intellect is limited and biased by his vocabulary. So not only do I have patience in waiting for other people to use ad hominems against me, but I ask certain questions of certain people like fathers of the local Catholic Church when we go through this pandemic and he's got a mask on his face in the store. And I ask him, no, you're the father of local church. He says, yeah. And I said, can I ask you a couple of questions? He says, sure. I said, you're familiar with the scriptures then, right? He says, oh, yeah. I said, just so you're familiar with Genesis 2:7, wherein God forms man of the dust of the ground. And when he breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, man became a living soul, meaning that every breath he took was an act of God. Well, yeah. And I just looked at him and said, you ought to be ashamed at yourself, nodding at his mask, and just turned around and walked away. I have no qualms stating the truth of a true communication that you just simply can't rebut, particularly as a father of the Catholic Church. Again, I rebut the unum sanctum that the Pope puts out, claiming all souls of living men. Isaiah 43:1, fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine. Who the fuck is you to make such a claim? See, I point out the inconsistencies and that's it. If you don't agree with me, then point it out and show me how I'm wrong. If you can't do that, then I stick to my opinion. I stand on my word. From this core belief, the Heroic Imagination Project was born with a mission to use important findings in psychology to equip ordinary people of all ages with the knowledge, skills, and strategies necessary to choose wise and effective acts of heroism during challenging moments in their lives. This is one place I want to point out that in this public education system, some damn transvestite or transgender talking about dildos and same-sex sex and things like that is not a hero. And it's certainly not somebody that's just going to stand by. I call it quite mischievous to the actual true nature of our very being. And I think it's disgusting. Again, just my opinion, though.
I'm still not sure that people are ready for what's been playing for a long time.
Absolutely. People are so caught up in the cognitive dissonance. And it goes back to that thing I say all the time as well. I get tired of people sitting on the couch in their comfort and convenience, smacking down that processed foods and guzzling down that poisonous drink, watching somebody else's glamorous, comedic, adventurous, mysterious, murderous life on BoobTube because theirs is worth squat. When they hear the license or hear the sirens and see the lights, they go out and they peek out and they see somebody being arrested a couple blocks down. They go right back to doing the same damn thing, Stepford Wives, same pattern every day, in and out. The next night they hear the sirens. They're doing the same damn thing. They see the lights. They look out. Down at the other end of the block, they're arresting somebody else. When the fuck do you think they're going to come to your door? You think you're so special? You're just as dumb as the rest of the population. 7th or 8th grade average reading comprehension, most likely. I mean, is the average. I'm not saying you are. And if you're not, then why are you not doing something about it? Are your children average while you're professing to be above average? Is that how the education works? Public education system didn't teach you enough, but you superseded that, and now you're smarter than the average bear. But you're going to turn around and send your children to that same public education system. Don't you aspire and inspire them to be greater than you? Or is that, nah, I prefer my convenience. I'm going to go home and watch BoobTube. When they get old and 18 and out the door, they can watch their own fucking BoobTube. This was the disingenuous aspect that we're being brought up in this society, to not care about our families and throw them in old folks' homes and send them off to kindergarten. This is pathetic. We have much better means of educating by not incorporating some commercial capacity of somebody else to raise them up in some dogmatic theories.
I read somewhere, I'm not sure where it was.
Transgenderism, my ass. Go ahead, brother.
I read somewhere the other day, I forget what it was. It said, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all.
Absolutely.
And you know, how true is that? Because I think if we look at it, we see a lot of people out here that has educated their minds to some degree. And then there's those people out there that have educated their hearts. But if they bring those two together and start to try to master them both, well, how much more brighter would this place be?
Absolutely, and that's why I'm talking about this.
Spiritual foundation is so important.
Well, this, and not only spiritual, it like I said, it relates to that psychology.
Yeah.
The Stanford prison experiment goes to the psychology of people's behavior when they get control. So again, that spirituality is understanding the control of the spirit over the manual, because that's where that demon shit comes out, is when we think we have control over another man. And greetings, I'm Iman. How are you doing tonight, sister?
Greetings, all is well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the people that are bringing this about, and again, this is just showing you the structure that we can reiterate in doing the exact same thing of putting out an education to build people up in positive thought processes to help them project their imaginations that are going to be carefully maintained and done in good faith, and not with muddied hands or without thought of heart, like was just mentioned. Philip Zimbardo, as the founder, is internationally recognized as the voice and face of contemporary psychology. Zimbardo is a Stanford University emeritus professor of psychology. His classic research, the Stanford Prison Experiment, August 1971, has its 50th anniversary. President Matt Langdon, a teacher of heroism since 2006 to a wide range of audiences around the world. His book, The Hero Handbook, was published in 2021. His focus is, I might have to get that. His focus has been on building a community around heroism studies, resulting in the Hero Roundtable Conference Series. This is like the Anarchapulco thing. It's just a regular gathering of people that pose a greater growth, a greater truth through your own personal activities of a greater projection of the aspect of humanity, the heroism aspect, rather than a bystander or even a villain or somebody that's being mischievous and demonic. Thomas Sartor, like I said, and it's been said many times, there's levels to this stuff. There's layers like a onion. Thomas Sartor, vice president, grew up working for his family's paving company and segued into managing Hero Roundtable conferences around the world. As an executive board member for the Heroic Imagination Project, Thomas contributes his profound focus on empathy to HIP's event team, trainings, and international relationship building. That kind of seems like that preamble to the Universal Postal Union's Constitution to help communicate amongst the people of the countries of the world. I think those sound like the same mission statements. Ari Cohen, secretary, professor of political science, Schlesinger professor of social justice, and director of the Norman and Bernice Harris Center for Judaic Studies. Where do you think we get our judicial system? From the Judaic studies. He has published it as a judicial value system based on the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. He has published 2 academic books and several journal articles on the topic of heroic behavior. Eric Smith, treasurer, owns and operates a portrait photography business, working with individual clients in events of all sizes. Eric cultivates a strong sense of community within the Heroic Imagination Project board and among our partner organizations. So he's not naming a specific community, but showing a strong sense of community. Did you know that's one of your senses? Most people think they have 5 senses. You have a sense of balance, a sense of direction, a sense of weight. You have a sense of all kinds of things and a strong sense of community. Who do you strongly commune with? Suzanne Bernier, award-winning crisis management consultant and author of Disaster Heroes, Invisible Champions of Help, Hope, and Healing. She has helped governments, communities, and companies plan for and respond to disasters for over 20 years. Suzanne is passionate about turning bystanders into agents of positive change. This is where I want to talk about that public service. See, when it comes to those 12 presumptions of government, there's one of public service, and I rebut the public service with I have a greater service to my brother, in that I am an agent of positive change. I'm one that is hopefully going to help them adopt and adapt to the changes that are already present and inherent before them, so that they can continue to live in this world as a prosperous being, taking advantage of those changes and adapting so it doesn't cause a loss or be detrimental. This is that quid quo pro of going forth and being prosperous and abundant, going forth and multiply and replenishing the earth. You have to be able to do that on your own, not through some damn commercial system. Jonathan Chen, a leader in the development and implementation of successful business strategies for both online and traditional companies in a variety of industries. And let's not confuse this implementation with the federal acquisitions term, because this merely means the same thing, the adopting and using of successful business strategies for both their online and traditional companies training in a variety of industries. Jonathan led the e-business. It's the same thing as Henry Ford bringing forth the production line. So now the production line has been implemented throughout the multiple industries. Jonathan led the e-business practice at Sea Change and co-led the energy practice at Gemini Consulting before founding and leading Licknon. Jonathan helps HIP plan and manage sustainable growth. We'll have to, somebody look that up for me, would you? Licknon. Licknon. Then it goes to say Christy Ellis, co-owner of a furniture, home decor, and women's clothing boutique. She leverages her background in hospitality and business development when initiating and coordinating on-site events for HIP, cultivating relationships with her trademark sense of humor. Nice, we may have a comedian there. Allison Evans, award-winning psychology professor at California State University, Bakersfield, who also facilitates online hybrid curriculum design training. HIP's programs benefit from Allison's expertise in psychology and e-learning. Zoe Hummel is a competitive skier, excuse me, and a senior at Stanford Online High School. Interested in neuroscience and psychology. She designed the Hero Club curriculum and helps students all over the world launch Hero Clubs at their own schools. Interesting. She sounds like she could be a little young on the high school side. That's nice to see a high intellect in the high schools. We need to expound that farther. Again, I remind people, most people graduate high school with a 7th grade reading comprehension, possibly 8. It's pathetic. You can't possibly expect that America has a strong nation with those kind of statistics. Scott Mixer founded Mixer Media as a teenager and has since produced more than 10,000 hours of video content, including projects for Google, Siemens, and the Hero Roundtable. Scott's distinctive talent for digital storytelling allows HIP to share heroic examples with a global audience. Interesting. Another young one. Imagine what kind of heroes they're going to be as this technology develops and changes, and they're at the forefront. Brian Rich is currently an active researcher in heroism science. Brian has a background in developmental and positive psychology, as averse to the negative psychology of all the drama panels and everything. It's a totally different venue, folks. Similar to the work we do at HIP, Brian worked with a team of researchers to create and evaluate an online toolkit to help young people foster, as in adopt and foster, foster and adopt, purpose in life. Brian is also engaged in developing and testing the social science and evaluation protocols that HIP uses to measure the efficacy of our programs. Now, while it says the efficacy of their programs, I beg to differ that it's actually, when we look at the fostering of young people's purpose in life, it's those talents that I'm always talking about, and it's the efficacy of those talents. Let's not disposition the reality, again, of what the truth merits, and that's the credence of where everything comes from. And again, it does fall in line, I believe, with the Heroic Imagination Project's concept of being a hero and knowing that it's your engagement in doing so. It's your talents and therefore your efficacy. Staff and partners, Matthew Winkler, TED Ed video, What Makes a Hero, 7 million views. Snowballed into his first book, Mentoring Teenage Heroes. Yeah, I like that idea, mentoring teenage heroes, teaching them as young people that they can grow up to be the heroes they so imagine, as long as that's a reasonable process of growth, comprehension, and acceptance of that growth and comprehension as a matter of follow-up experiences. It's not something that you can be lazy at and think, well, one day I'm going to be accepted and that'll be the end of it and I'll be able to live the rest of my life happy, joy, fun, cupcake. It's not going to happen. The Hero's Journey of Adolescence. Morgan Griffin. Morgan is a graduate from California State University, Bakersfield. She has been a heroic ambassador, another good term I like, with HIP since 2018, and since 2020, a hero trainer. So she went through that course. And again, we have, okay, resources. And again, these are their resources, as they call them. But the true source, again, is yourself. They need you to participate in this psychological experiment of positive psychology. In so doing, it's there. I don't see any problem participating in that as a part of a statistical data set that would help imbue the positive, heroic imaginations that we can embed in our younger generations. Not only can you grow up to be that fireman, Johnny, but you can grow up to be president. You can grow up to have your own country. You can grow up to have full powers of being a fireman, a policeman, a postman, a military man, a nurse, a doctor. You don't have to go to college for that stuff. Okay? That's the problem. We indoctrinate our children to believe in this false education system that doesn't provide them with anything of proper providence and grace. So, with that, we are finished with the presentation. Again, I want to remind everybody, I appreciate everybody's support dearly. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. There is a PayPal link down there for anybody who wants to share some love. Every little bit is appreciated. And we're going to put it to everybody for what you got on your mind on the way out. Please give me everything you've got. I need every criticism, compliment, concern, complaint that you can bring up. I need contemplation.
That's hard for me, brother.
Why so?
Because I do my research as well, and I can't, and so I sometimes I don't even come up because it's hard for me to criticize anything and even make jokes of it because I'm so serious about this stuff, But I welcome everybody to, because I love a little criticism from time to time myself. But,
absolutely. Yeah, I don't mind critical communication as long as it's Socratic and gives the rebuttal party the opportunity to speak their piece so we can actually bring together. That's what I confer as a proper communication.
I would agree. It certainly seem respectful and honorable.
Yep, confer and prefer and refer.
Would certainly maintain good works.
Yeah, well, that's my only intent.
I mean, there's the stability.
Man, I don't care if you call me Buckwheat or Kunta Kinte or Toby or anything. It's still going to go to the good works. I don't let people disposition me from that through ad hominems or false accusations or anything like that. And I'm getting much better at it. Remaining stable, as we spoke of earlier, communication, stability, proving your word is your bond. And again, yeah, I'm not the angry old man that I've expressed, and I'm learning quickly to hopefully express better ways of what I'm trying to portray. And that's not, again, to be a guru or a leader or anything like that. I'm just communicating. I'm expressing what I feel, and you have a right to know that. If you don't want to know it, just don't come around. Don't punch the links. Don't come up on panel. And at the same time, when you do come around, I urge you, don't believe me. Don't believe the neighbor. Don't believe the government. Don't believe your mother, for crying out loud. Do your research. It's the only way you're going to know it. Because if you say, well, I know it, and you're going to believe me, then you're still on a belief system. Can't prove yourself worthy and approved.
Hey, real quick, can I get, is it possible to get 2 minutes of your time when you end this privately?
And we can do that.
All right, I'll hang out. But I'll end as I always do and encourage people to be the change you wish to see. Share some love out
Absolutely.
here in the world. Bring some unity.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we need some communities developing that process of heroism, as we've been talking about. All right, guys, words on the way out.
Brother, I put that word in there. I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
Licknon.
I think it is.
Licknon, I saw that.
Yeah, I put that information in there for you. And it's just, I've always respected everyone. And just as I've been raised, they always say if
Just
you can't say
ignore the
nothing
BS.
nice, you don't say nothing at all, right?
Absolutely.
Keeps you safe. Yeah. Well,
And the jealous people, because that's who they are. They're jealous that we know more than them.
Exactly.
Some of them are jealous.
Well, I've got a lot to do, and I'm gonna try to take some time and get some things done, and I'll catch you all around again the next time you all have some more stuff that helped me in my knowledge and my journey. I thank you all.
Absolutely, sister. All glory goes to him. Thank you for your support.
You're welcome. Later. Nightfall, both of you.
Many blessings.
Anything for you, John?
Nope, like I just said, ignore the BS and ignore those that are jealous. Those are the two killers.
Absolutely. And with that, folks, remember, I love you. I don't give a rat's ass whether you hate me or don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night. Bye now.